So finally, welcome back. Welcome back to the Wednesday Web Dev. If you have been following this channel, well, you would know that this Wednesday Web Dev is kind of cursed because this is the second time I'm trying it today. The first time my internet connection, well, it just didn't support me. Well, I was doing the live stream and YouTube started giving me some errors and OBS started giving me some errors that the live stream is being cut and it's not being successful. We are not having we having latency, etc. So well, I'm back now. I'm using StreamYard. It's my first time using the StreamYard software. So let me know in the comments in the live chat if you are able to hear me, if you're able to see me, if everything is working well on your side. You can hear me well and there's no latency in the video, but that would be really great if you can do that. I would appreciate it very much. And anyways, let's get in today's topic again. I did cover this before, but I'll just give you another brief overview for those who are joining in right now for the first time. So today I'm very excited because I'm going to cover a great library called as Tagify. It basically adds tags in your input component. Now, why is this great? We'll do three things today. First, we will see why this library is great and I'm really bullish about it and I love it and I use it in every single project whenever I need a tag kind of input box. And the second thing we'll do is we'll implement something together. I'll show you how to implement something with a whitelist. For example, let's say you have tags like these. For example, if you have been using Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or any other social media platform, you know you can tag people, right? And that is not just text. You can also click on that later. So this is an example of a tag. For example, you can see this example, GIF is adding a user with the @ sign and hashtag with the hash sign. And it is a combination of input box and a hashtag. Now, if you're new to web dev or even you have some experience in web dev, well, thank you, Kritika, for telling us that everything is good in this live stream. I appreciate it. And well, if you don't know Kritika is like the co-owner, the co-member of this small YouTube channel, and we run this YouTube channel together. So kudos to her. And anyways, coming back, so this is an input box, and if you have some experience, and yeah, it's yeah, that's persistence for sure. Now, if you know that if you're new to web dev or if you have some experience, you would know that creating a simple input box like this one, well, it can be really complicated because you know how to create an input box, but how to give them drop downs whenever they input a attribute, a character like @ or hash, and how to accept it, how to reject it. Because maybe if you try to tag a person who's not your friend, maybe the social media platform doesn't allow that and it has to reject whatever you just added as a tag. How you do all of that? Well, the best thing is you don't have to do that yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. This library will do just that for you. So you can have whitelist, you can have a blacklist, you can do asynchronously and much more. So I'll show you how to do. So I'll create a kind of a tag box for adding cryptocurrencies. So you can add Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, etc., whatever there are, Dogecoin. You can add all of them. And whenever you enter anything else, let's say you enter Java or let's say you enter Apple, well, that will be rejected as soon as you enter it. So that is what we'll cover today. In the end, who sticks till the very end, it will be a bonus for you, because as a bonus, I will show you how to do that asynchronously. Now, because in the real world scenario, most probably you will be doing it asynchronously because you might have to go through an API call. Because imagine you have a list of users. Now, in the front end, you won't know what users are the friends of the current user, the current logged in user. Let's say I am logged in into your website and you are using this library. Well, do you know what my friends are? No, right? You will have to get them from probably an API call. So that is asynchronous. So you need to know how to use that. But before getting into it, I just want to explain why I love this library. Well, not only it can be used with vanilla JavaScript, not only it's free, not only it has 23,000 downloads every week. That's just the good stuff. But the best part is that this library can be used with React, Vue, or Angular. Yes, you heard me right. So that's the great part. So even if you're using Angular today and if you use React tomorrow, well, you can use the same library, the same knowledge, and you will get pretty much the same output. So that's the best part for me. That's what I like. Now, what you can do is you can check out cool demos by clicking on this link, see demos, or you can also start yourself using this link, live demo using parcel as bundler. So basically, it will take you to a bundler, an example like this one. This is the one I created myself, but it will take you to a starter pack where you can start coding, where you can start using this library. Okay, I have already done that, so maybe you can do that if you want to, but I'll show you my examples, and don't worry, I'll also share the links to my example at the very end of this video in the description down below. So make sure you check that. So what I've done over here is it's pretty basic. I have just created an index.html file. It has two values. For example, it has value foo, which is not editable. As you can see, we have passed editable false, and we have value bar. So it's pretty simple. It's a basic input box, a basic input element, and we just have two values separated by commas. In the index.js, we have the Tagify. So we have imported Tagify over here. We have imported our style. So all of that is pretty basic. After that, we have the query selector. So basically, we are selecting the input box from our HTML file. And after that, well, we just create the Tagify element. And that's pretty much it. So that's all you need to do to get started, right? So I hope you understand that. If you're not, if you're live right now, you can ask questions. So that's a big advantage of being live, right? If you're seeing this video later on, well, obviously you can ask the questions down in the comments, but it won't be live answer. It won't be live learning. So that's why we are going towards live stream. We try to do it 1 or 2 live streams every week. So you can come together, we can learn together, you can ask questions at the right time. But anyways, more on that later. The question is that if I start writing, like if I remove it, if I remove one that is removed, if I start writing BIT, it gives me an option, Bitcoin. Well, that's great. If I write Ethereum, well, it is accepted as well. It's a little slow because of my internet connection, but anyways, it gives me the relevant options, and I love that. But as you can see here, we still have some other values. For example, if I refresh, you see there are some values like foo and bar, and they're kind of being accepted, right? And we don't want that. We just want these values in our whitelist, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Litecoin. We just want them to be accepted in our input box. So how can we do that? So that's very simple. When we create a new Tagify element, we pass the whitelist, but we also need to enforce the whitelist. So if I uncomment this out, and if I refresh, now you will see, if I write Bitcoin, well, that is accepted. But if I write anything else, that would be instantly rejected. So I did not complete the Bitcoin that I was entering. So that's why it was rejected. If I complete this now and I select from the dropdown, it's selected. Well, that's great. What if I write Apple? Well, it's instantly rejected. So I'm enforcing the whitelist. So user can enter anything he or she wants, but in the end, that will be rejected and removed from our tag. And it gives a nice animation as well while removing it, and that's really cool. So it would give the user an idea that it's turning into red and then removing. So probably I'm not entering something right. So that gives me an idea, right? If I enter RIP, it gives me an example like Ripple. Yeah, that's a cryptocurrency, so that can be added. Also, usually you can double click on any tag and edit it, but right now, because we have enforced a whitelist, it won't be accepted anyways. Okay, so moving on. What if you can write duplicates? Well, can you? If I try to write Bitcoin again, well, it will be instantly rejected as well. And that is because of the duplicate flag. So if I make this true, well, now you can enter duplicates as well. So all you need to do is you need to go to the documentation of Tagify. The new version, Tagify 4.0, is already out, which is really cool. It has never been this better. It has never been this powerful. And you can definitely use it. So now if I write Bitcoin, it would be accepted. But now if I write Ethereum, you guessed it right, accepted as well. If I write Bitcoin again, What do you think is going to happen now? Well, it's going to accept the Bitcoin tag again, because right now, as you just saw, I said duplicates are allowed. So that's great. It's pretty straightforward, right? I'll remove this. I don't want duplicates. I just wanted to show it to you. I just wanted to present it to you about how you can do that, about how you can add duplicates. Okay, moving on. So these are some event listeners that you can, for example, chain and listen to and maybe console log to understand what's happening behind the scenes. So I'll explain this to you in just a second. So right now we have four events. We have add event, remove event, input event, and invalid event. So whenever I write anything, if I write, let's say B, oops, if I write B, well, that's an input, right? So as you can see, first I entered N, so that was logged as an input. Then I removed it, and then B was logged as well. So basically, it's saying that the value is B, the input element is HTML element, and it's not allowed because it's not valid yet. If I enter IT, the same thing would happen. So all these events, every character I enter is essentially an input event, and that would be logged. So you can understand how that is happening. So because of this over here, I am going here, I'm executing this function, and it prints the details of my event, and then it shows in the drop down whatever matches with my event value. So basically, if if I enter BIT, if that value matches with any of the values in my drop down, any of the accepted whitelisted values in my drop down, it will show them over here, and it would probably show me a drop down. So basically, I'm showing the drop down with the help of this method. So I hope that's clear. I'll console the input. I'll clear the console if I can. So now I'll write again. I'll write BIT. So again, the input on input event is triggered, and you can see in the console over here. So B, BI, and BIT. Now if I select this, well, focus. If you see over here, another event was fired on add tag. And how is that? Because add is also an event, and on that event, I am executing the on add tag function. What happens over there is it just simply prints the input that was added. So basically it says, well, you added something, you added a tag, and the value of that tag is Bitcoin. If I add another one, well, you guessed it right, another would be added, and again the same function would be executed. So that part is good, it's looking good. So now we're understanding how this library is working, what is happening behind the scenes, all of that is great. What if I remove something? Will something be fired? Well, because of the remove event over here, yes, it would be fired. So if I remove the Bitcoin, you would see the on remove tag was called. And did I remove something? Yes, I did. And it would probably show it over here. The next thing we can do is, which is, I guess we have covered all, just the invalid one is left. So if I enter an invalid tag now, let's see if it would be fired. If I enter Apple, well, it says on invalid tag, and basically your tag was simply not allowed. Well, too bad. The value was Apple, and it's not allowed. That's why it was removed. So now you understand everything that's happening behind the scenes. You understand the whitelist array that we declared over here, how to use it, how to enforce the whitelist, how to use duplicates, how to listen to different events, how you can console log and understand them properly, how you can use a dropdown to basically show the user some relevant examples, some relevant things to choose from. And all of that is great. But as I promised before, if you stick till the end of this video, I will show you all of this, how to do this asynchronously, basically like mocking an API call. And let's go right into it. And if you have any questions, well, just let me know in the comments down below. If you like the video till now, also let me know in the live chat or in the comments down below. I would really appreciate it. Well, the next thing we want to do now is do all of this, but asynchronously. So for that, now I've cleaned this file up. I'll be only listening to the input event, because technically what I want to do is I want to listen for input. So let's say if the user enter BI, I want to take that input, I want to send it through the API call, and I want to get all the things, all the keywords that match the input of the user from my whitelist. So let's see how we'll do that. The on input event is fired whenever I write anything. So if I write bi, you see the cool loading sign. So that means it's asynchronous now. It is actually loading something before it can show. So that's really cool. And I didn't do that myself. Well, yes, I did start the loading and end the loading on receiving of the on completing the promise of my API request. But Tagify gives us that cool animation that we can use as well. So another shout out to Tagify and its creators. So on input event is over here. And then we have tagify.settings.whitelist.len. So this is why are we doing this? Why are we resetting the whitelist? Because we want to show the user that the whitelist is coming from an API, and that's why it needs to be reset. Whenever I enter something, the whitelist would be reset. I would go through an API, I would get the new whitelist, and then I would push that whitelist into my current Tagify element. Well, if it sounds overwhelming, don't worry, it is really not. I'll break it down to you in just a minute. So just assume that this is just marking my whitelist as empty. It's saying I don't have a whitelist anymore. It's an empty array. Okay, let's move forward. After that, I have the tagify.loading true. So that is why we should see the loading element over here. So if I write Ethereum, you see there was loading, and then I can select it. If I write Doge, well, some people call it Dogecoin, some people call it Dogecoin. I'll just call it Dogecoin. And then you can select that as well. So you see the loading and the end of loading sign, right? So you say the loading true, so the loading starts. Then I've called a function. We'll go into it later, but just assume that this is an API call. And whenever this API call executes, I push the result of this API call into my whitelist. So let's say the whitelist comes as Dogecoin whenever I write D, right? But Ethereum right now is already there. It is already whitelisted. It's already in my Tagify. So what I want to do is I want to add the results that I already have right now into my whitelist, and I want to add. I want to add the results that are already there in my whitelist in my Tagify element, which I'll get by tagify.value. And I want to add the results that I get from the API request. So that's what are we doing. That's what we are doing right now. In the end, I mark the loading as false. So I say we don't need to show the loading sign anymore. If I don't do this, the loading sign would be there infinitely, indefinitely, and we don't want that. Once that is done, we want to show the dropdown. And that's it. After we show the drop down, there's nothing else to do. If the user selects something, well, it will be selected. If not, it will be rejected. Anyways, if there's an error in the API request, we hide the drop down because there's nothing else we can do over there. Maybe you can print an error in the console, but we can't do anything else. Now, as I said, this is a mocked API. By that, what I mean is right now the delay is 700 milliseconds. But what if I add the delay of 5,000 milliseconds? So basically 5 seconds. You will see over here that the loading remains for a very, very long time. So let's say I write DOG. Well, now it is expected to go for 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds, the loading will complete. So it looks like it was a heavy call on my server. And now the Dogecoin is here. If I write ETH, well, it's a busy day. It's taking 5 seconds because there's a lot of load on my cryptocurrency website. But that's fine. In the end, I got the output as Ethereum. If my website is pretty quick, maybe the loading time just has to be 100 milliseconds, so 0.1 second. But anyways, it's the same thing. Now, if you're interested on how the asynchronous code is written, the mock asynchronous code is written, well, I'll go over it right away. After a sip, obviously. So we have mocked an AJAX request. So it's basically a promise. So what I'm doing over here is I'm first of all clearing the last request. So this is very important. If the user starts entering very quickly, if the user writes BIT, well, you don't want 3 API requests to be, and you don't want to wait for 3 API requests to execute, right? Because every element, every character that the user writes will trigger an API request. So you want to cancel the old one. You want to cancel or stop listening to the old one. You want to listen to the latest one always. So you just abort the last request. This is more of a security. This is more of a best practice kind of thing. You don't really have to do this, but I would highly recommend you to do it. After that, I'm just creating a new promise. I'm returning it. And in the promise, I'm basically just resolving. I'm doing a set timeout, and this is my timeout duration. And what I'm doing is I'm just simply resolving it and sending the whitelist in the end. So basically, I'll get after 100 milliseconds, in this case, I'll get my whitelist over here as a result, and I'll just add it to my whitelist in the Tagify whitelist property. So that is it. That is how we are doing it asynchronously. If you have any question, as I said, feel free to ask in the comments down below. If you like this library, let me know as well. If you're already using it and are a fan of it, well, let me know. If you have been using it and did not like it, let me know as well. I would love to know your thoughts. So as always, let me know in the comments down below if you like this kind of content. Next week, we have some great console.log kind of features, pro tips for you guys. So don't forget to tune in next Wednesday at 9 p.m. We are trying to do a Wednesday Web Dev Weekly, and we'll discover and cover something new and learn something together. And that would be a great thing for our community. So that's it. And if you have any questions, as I said, comments down below. Hit the thumbs up button before you go. Hit the subscribe bell if you are not subscribed already. What are you doing with your life? Well, until next time. Bye-bye.